Hello, listener. We are back for another episode of Old Guys Playing Games with Jason, Josh, Stuart, and Ken. That's me.
You say listener? Like we have one listener?
Yeah, I think that's what we have. One. No,
that might be
listener.
true,
I
actually.
think there's only one.
Okay. Oh,
Mom.
Hey, Mom. That's 100% growth.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Sorry.
So I figured today we would give a quick update on some news with Call of Duty. Then we'll talk about some new games that I found that some of us had given a shot and talk about those a little bit. And give you an update on my arcade build. And then we got some other stuff at the tail end. So let's kick it off. So Season 2
starts
with February 14th.
Aww.
I
love all the hearts that are flowing around the game now.
You would, Josh. You would.
I haven't seen
I don't like
yet.
the big teddy bear. Oh, you just wait for the Flammenhofer. Great.
So there's some multiplayer updates that comes with the Season 2, which is good. We got some stability stuff. We got some Champion Hill mode. And
did you mean lack of stability, Ken?
No, it's coming. It's coming with season.
Season 2 hasn't started. Season 2 hasn't started.
It started for me.
And
somehow it spilled over to the rest of us.
Well, let's Josh, you seem to have an opinion. So let's start with you. And I want to then read some of the patch updates and see if they're going to address any of your concerns.
So let me just do this. So can we talk about Crossfire? Is it CrossfireX or Crossfire?
You can't start there.
No.
Well, I know where you're going.
It's going to all circle around.
I feel your vibe.
All right.
Is it Crossfire?
CrossfireX.
So CrossfireX. All right, let me start out there. CrossfireX is a new game that came out for Xbox this week, actually. It is actually it's based on an old series from 2007, released in South Korea, and it's hugely popular. It is the world's most played video game by player count.
What?
They have
Is that a fact?
They have 1 billion users in 80 countries worldwide.
On what platform, though?
Let's see. They've got PC.
I am shocked by that.
It's a lot of platforms, actually. But they've got, let's see, it's the world's top grossing online game as of 2014. It's grossed over $12 billion in lifetime.
What's it called? Wordle?
Crossfire. It's a first-person tactical online shooter game, and they have a new version called CrossfireX that they released last week. I think it was for Xbox.
Yeah, and I think they ported the Commodore 64 version of the code into.
So I'm glad you said that, because I played it after I told you guys about it to try it. And then I played it. I'm like, wow, I cannot wait to talk to these guys about it, because I have some things to say about it and Call of Duty as well. So Josh, you and I are going to probably have a similar viewpoint. But this is actually quite funny, because it is, they even talk about it and say that it is similar to Counter-Strike. And that was the first thing that hit me as soon as I started playing the game. I was like, whoa, this is like old school Counter-Strike. But the funniest thing for me was when the character moves, only his legs move. His torso doesn't move. So there's no body bob when he runs. It's just a torso that glides, and then the legs move. So it was a stark contrast of what we are used to by playing Call of Duty when you see this other game that is hugely popular as well. So for me, it was it was a realization that, wow, I'm taking Call of Duty for granted. I complain about all the things that I hate about Call of Duty.
You're stealing my thunder, Kenneth.
I'm sorry.
Well, before you go there, because actually, because I played it too, and I don't know if it's because I played the cloud streaming version. Did you guys play that? Did you download?
That's what I played. I played the cloud version.
So I was wondering, Ken, if that's why the graphics weren't that great, because I was streaming it versus downloading the whole thing.
For me, it's not necessarily the graphics, and this is kind of where I was going to go with it, right? Being an IT professional, knowing about experiences, getting into that game, it's the most clunky, one of the most clunky UIs I've ever tried to use.
Agreed.
So I was frustrated from the start. even when you had to accept the terms and conditions,
you couldn't grab the bar and pull it down.
All the way. Yep, exactly. So I was nuts to start, and then I get in. I'll get in the game. I'm going to give it a shot. I get in the game, and you can't aim down sight.
Yeah, they said that was broken too, which is funny.
So it's a bug. It's broken. You have to hip fire, and it's the worst aiming mechanism I've ever seen. Right? I was like, I gave it 10 minutes. Let me just try to give this a shot. Let me figure out if I don't have a setting right for the ADS. Couldn't do it.
I could aim down sight.
Really?
Yeah. Did you change weapons ever? Did you change a loadout?
I changed to multiple weapons, and I could not aim down sight. Not on a pistol, not on an assault rifle, neither.
Now, is it that it's not the same level of aim down sight as Call of Duty, but it is like hipfire definitely is different than when you.
It doesn't move.
Aim down sight.
It didn't move at all. I was pulling. I switched my what do you call it? The setting on the controller to see if that was it. I couldn't get it to aim down sight.
Well, they did confirm that was a bug. There was a problem with that. So I don't know if every user was experiencing it, but I didn't like the way it didn't feel like I was aiming down sight, regardless of whether it was or wasn't. It didn't feel like I was. It felt like I was shooting from the hip because I didn't get the ability to get a little bit of a zoom. I didn't get the reticle didn't enlarge. I wasn't able to tell that I was actually aiming down sight, but.
And just to tie it into Call of Duty, right? As much as I was in the last few days, and Jason and Stuart know this firsthand, when I literally couldn't get in the game, even after uninstalling and reinstalling it, as frustrated I was with that game, Crossfire, does not hold a candle to Call of Duty in terms of user experience, gameplay, graphics, realism,
menu system,
options, weapons, everything.
Realism.
So
realism.
Fake realism.
Let's talk about realism for a second, because
you're moving, you don't move. There's no whatever.
If you get grazed with a bullet, you're dead. And
yeah, so you're right.
It's not like, I can get hit with a rocket launcher. Okay, maybe I'll get a little.
Fine. Let's put that aside because I get it. You're right. It depends on what your definition of realism is. I'm just saying it made me appreciate Call of Duty all over again. And yeah, it's frustrating as hell trying to get through the menus and when you're crashing every single time. And we've done this before. I mean, there have been other shooters that we've tried. It's just the best one in the genre, period. Even if this Vanguard is the worst of them, it still blows any other first-person shooter away. So I'm not happy to take all the nonsense with the menus and stuff and the crashing, but I will endure it because I know eventually I'm going to get in the game and I'm going to play and I'm going to have fun.
No, so I agree with you, and that's where I was going to. I wish we would have talked before just to kind of share this, because I had the same experience. I got into it, was hoping for the best, and I felt like I was playing a game from 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. It did not seem to have the visual realism. It had the gameplay realism where you can only take one or two shots versus Call of Duty where you have, simulated armor, you take multiple hits. But the graphics, the motion of the characters, the gameplay, I felt was very inferior to Call of Duty. And it made me realize that I was giving Call of Duty, I was taking it for granted, because we play so much. We know what it's like, so we complain about it because it's not better than what we think it should be. But then you go back and you play a different game and you realize, wow, the Call of Duty's really nailing it, Mm-hmm.
So are we going to go back and make Stuart play it, or are we done with it? I think we're
just for the experience. He should.
If I would like to see you make Stuart play it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like I think you've led the witness. But I'll take.
Well, the good news is
look at online gameplay first.
It's cloud based, so you don't have to download it. So you could just play it off the cloud. But I think it's worth a play to give you a better appreciation for what we have in Call of Duty.
Got it.
Just to see the difference, because that was shocking to me, especially when I read all the stuff about it and how popular it was and all that, and then I started playing. I'm like, why is this?
I think we should say a lot of people just have lower standards.
Yeah, might be.
But is that really it though? If it's the most played online,
I think it's
game?
probably because it's available to play on. It's not as heavy to play on platforms. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
I mean, that's
what
I mean.
Well, not only that is
the
that
bandwidth
it was an Asian produced game. It became huge in Korea and China, and there's a lot more players over there. And so because of that, it became a huge success, and just probably the ease of entry into the game. When I say that, I'm talking about technology based. Like you said, you could be on different platforms and easier to get into it.
I'd be curious. We should do some research on like Call of Duty in other countries and what is and isn't allowed and some of those things. I think it'd be an interesting thing to get into and find out what can you do on Call of Duty in China versus the US and other countries.
Yeah, we're seeing this a lot, right? With some movies too getting banned for certain reasons. So.
Well, banned or edited in certain ways. Yes.
Right. It's from Tencent, which is the world's largest game publisher, which is an interesting fact when this whole Microsoft Activision thing has gone through. A lot of the rhetoric is that it's actually a good thing that they're not the biggest. They're actually third biggest, Microsoft is, because of Tencent is just a massive machine. And I think this is probably one of their games. I'm reading more about it on the Wikipedia link. It's nice. Asia that has made this dominate the market.
So is Call of Duty not available there?
Well, that's what I would need to find out. I'm just curious. I don't know, and probably we can look it up later. But I would think it'd be interesting to see. Are there variants of Call of Duty based on location, and what are those limitations? I think it'd be cool to sort of do some research. So I will take that one. How about that?
Cool. All right. So to try to move forward, we were talking about some of your complaints, Josh, and I wanted to read a little bit about their.
Let's get more complaints from Josh, shall we?
Okay, so you want to more rants? No, I mean for me, it's the crashing. I was at wit's end with it.
So crazy. Call of Duty released
he was at wit's end.
A community update. They called it a Warzone special briefing for our players. And they actually talk about some of the changes and updates they are going to, and what they're going to focus on. And they said their priority for Warzone is, and we don't play Warzone much, but they are going to address some of the crashing. They call it the quality of life, making changes that allow Warzone to be more accessible, less frustrating for our communities. That might address some of the crashing. They're going to improve.
It wasn't Warzone that was crashing. It was Vanguard.
Right. Yeah, but they have some updates to Vanguard too. So they're doing it in conjunction or in parallel at the same time. They're making the changes across both. But they are talking about blockages to Modern Warfare multiplayer, which is tied to Warzone's launcher, and so that may be some of the problems that you've been experiencing here.
Which is why I think when we talk about Warzone announcement this week, why the next one is going to be a completely standalone launcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's a good segue into the next one. So they did mention that the next, they said here, the sequel to 2019's Call of Duty Modern Warfare is new Warzone experience, and it'll be designed together from the ground up. So both Modern Warfare and Warzone will be designed from the ground up together. So we suspect it'll be a new launcher. It'll be a new interface.
Yeah, I saw stuff. I saw stuff on that. It's going to be a new launcher. It's a new engine, completely new engine that they've been working on for years, apparently. So This is going to be so everything we've worked on. So basically, and it was something about the complaints around the cluttered 4 launchers and sort of why it's been challenged. And so supposedly going to address that now. Maybe that's why we're not getting the dev stuff that you need right now, Josh, because it's all being spent on the new piece. I think it's Treyarch that's doing this one. Ken, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Which I think has everyone excited. Right?
Yeah, that's
the date?
One of my favorites. I don't think
they're going to keep the lights on mode.
Let's see, did they release a date for that yet? I don't think they have.
KTLO.
Said they were going to release it early, right?
It was going to be early. It was going to be probably this early third quarter, I think, but I don't think I haven't seen a date. If you guys have, by all means, let me know.
I'm looking. I don't see fall 22.
I think October was the date that I heard.
So that's around the same time that we usually get one anyway. So there was rumors that it was going to be early, but I guess it wasn't, or isn't going to be, which is fine. Yep. Take your time, do it right.
Seriously, I'm fine. I don't mind waiting if it's going to be good.
So, all right, that's our Call of Duty wrap up. I didn't want to spend too much time. I have some viewers that have reached out, or a listener had reached out and said, "Hey, we don't talk too much about Call of Duty." I'm like, well, that's because that's what we play. And he didn't seem to be appeased by that, but that's fine.
Tell your wife to stop complaining about what we're talking about.
So a couple other games. I've been playing a bunch of games trying to get a little bit of diversity, and because I honestly have getting a little bit been burnt out on Call of Duty. You heard me whinging the other day that I wanted to play Warzone because I hadn't played it in so long, and so I started doing that. But I downloaded a few other games that I thought might be pretty cool. There was one called the Anucrusis. I think I'm mispronouncing that, but that's fine. And what appealed to me was that it was a 4-player co-op. So I got into it, and the visuals were pretty simplistic. They weren't Minecraft, but it was like a 70s themed alien shooter, and the dialogue was actually very funny as well. And it was just fun. It was just fun going around with these 4 guys, or 3 guys that I didn't know, going around, running around, shooting these stuff. And it was just a blast. It was one of those games where you jump in and you just have fun doing it. It's very similar to what I find entertaining about doing the zombie games. You jump in, you shoot a bunch of zombies, like fish in a barrel type thing. But it was fun. And I encourage us. I think we should need to get all together and play that once or twice. I think it'd be fun.
Is that one free?
I believe that one is cloud. I was surprised that Crossfire was. Yeah, these are all free. I'm sorry. I didn't pay for any of these.
I looked up whatever that's called, and it wasn't free. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
Well, check the show notes. I have a link to the actual Xbox. I'm sorry, I have a link to the website for that game, but you can find it from there. But it was fun. It was a bit, 70s themed. The clothing, the locations that they were at, and stuff like that. It was pretty funny. The other one that I'm really excited about is called Warface, and it's not a great name, but it has 5-player co-op mission styles.
Huh.
And I started playing a little bit of it, and I'm really excited about it because it reminds me of what I talked about last time about Rainbow Six. It's tactical. It's you and your team doing a storied mission, and the graphics and the gameplay were really well done. It really reminds me of Call of Duty. So this might be closer to a Call of Duty comparison for us. And this one is also on Game Pass, available for free. And I really encourage you guys to take a look at it. And I'd like for us to get together and play it if we can, because I think it should be really, really fun for us.
It's got a 4 point. I'm just looking at the reviews on Xbox. It's got a 4.4 out of 5. Not bad. Yeah, one thing I see here on a review, it says it has potential. The game is incredibly unpolished for being old. But
that was the other thing, is it is a relatively old game. The history of it, it's an older game, but this is a newer version of it. So I mean, this came back from Xbox 360, but it's made with the Crytek engine, which is a relatively old engine for gaming graphics and such. But they relaunched it in 2018 on PlayStation, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So you can tell that because it's on the Switch, it doesn't have a lot of heavy engine and graphics like the Call of Duty might have. But I was still really impressed with it. So the last one I want to talk about is a game called War Thunder. There's a bit of a theme there. That is probably one of the worst names I've ever heard for a game, War Thunder. But I think this will be very, very entertaining. This game has 3 different ways you can play it. You can play it land, sea, or air. And I chose air for my test run that I did. And it puts you in a plane. It's not a simulator. It's not Microsoft Simulator flying. It's very arcade style. But I played online. After I did the tutorial, I played an online game with multiplayer people I don't know. And I had the most kills. I shot down 9 planes, which was more than double the second place on my team. Our team won, and I never got shot down. It was a lot of fun. I just had a blast playing that. And they have land portion of the game where you have tanks and other military vehicles you can drive. You could do sea where you have battleships and other warships that you can control.
War Thunder?
War Thunder. And it is also cooperative as well. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. It's a change up. It's not a first person shooter. But I found it to be very, very entertaining. I think because I miss games like Crimson Skies. It was one of my favorite games on the original Xbox.
Love that game.
Yeah, which was a flight game, shooting from the plane. It was a solely flight game.
It was steampunk, right? It was just like a steampunk.
Very steampunky, yeah. It was a post-apocalyptic type style, and I really, really liked it. And this reminds me of that as far as the gameplay. It wasn't too simulator. I think you can turn up the difficulty and make it more simulator, but I did not want to do that. I just wanted to go up there and shoot plane. It looked really cool. So I really, really highly recommend you guys. Let's try to get together and play that too.
Cool.
What about what was the armored something?
Armored Warfare. Oh,
I played that one because it was on your list.
Yes.
Oof, what a snoozer, man.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Yeah, Armored Warfare it's a tank game, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was also the one that had you were a cooperative team of 4, and and you each had a tank. I'm like, this is weird.
The controls were terrible. But
2.4 out of 5. That says it all right there.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
2.4.
Yeah. That's about right. Maybe a little generous.
Bad. It was really, really bad. It was bad.
So that one's out.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I don't try that.
Ken, you sent, this wasn't on your list, but you sent earlier in the week this Atomic Heart trailer.
Yeah.
Was that what it's called? That looks amazing. And it actually looks like pretty slick and polished. So I'm hoping that actually translates into the game because it looks interesting. Is it only a campaign, or is it?
I believe it is only a campaign game. It does not look like they didn't talk about any kind of cooperative or multiplayer elements to it. I think it is strictly a story-based campaign game, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks awesome, and it looks like not clunky. It looks really cool.
It reminds when I watched the trailer for that, and I mentioned this in my text. When I watched the trailer of that, it reminded me of when I played Half-Life for the first time, and I was like, "Wow, that was just so amazing." The visuals and all that at the time, and this one is just leaps and bounds above that.
I think some people compared it to BioShock too, which I love.
Yeah,
I love BioShock.
I forgot about that game. It's been a while since I played that.
Yeah,
that's just
cool.
Those are all on Game Pass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that was a recent acquisition, wasn't it? The BioShock publisher.
Yeah,
Microsoft grabbed them, snatched them up.
Hey, speaking of the story things, I see you put Telling Lies on here. This is the one I told you to check out. Sort of like a murder mystery, and it's like live action. It's all shot by actors with a bunch of different directions you can go. You start in front of a PC, and just like you would if you were investigating something on someone's PC, you can just go through the PC and like look for files. And what do you think of it?
Do you have to play with other people?
No, it's single player. It's a complete departure from anything I've ever played. It's not a shooter. It's a mind game. And you're right. You sit in front of this PC, and the PC has access to these videos, and they're communications between two people. But when you watch the videos, you're only seeing the one side, and you're only hearing the one side of the conversation. So if you're trying to investigate something like a murder or something that's going on, I still haven't figured out what I'm supposed to be doing as far as solving this game. But you start listening to a story, and the one side of the story, the guy's talking, and it starts getting heated. You're like, oh, what is she saying that's making him mad? So then you go find the other half of that video on her side of it. And then you have to kind of take notes and think about, it's really, really amazing. You can search by words. Oh yeah. You can search by words in the dialogue and find clips that match that word. If you're looking for a certain person's name or something like that, it's really, really wild. Now, something, Jason, I read about that I hadn't noticed yet is that you mentioned that you can see her reflection, your character's reflection in the screen of the PC you're looking into.
Right.
Apparently, throughout the story, there are times where that takes focus. The PC screen, the text on the PC screen loses focus, and you see the focus go to her reflection.
Oh, wow.
And something happens behind her in her apartment. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see that. But I started it. I started playing it. I played it for a couple hours. And
wow.
After I told my wife about it, and then I told her I played a couple hours of it, she goes, what are you doing? We were going to play that together. I'm like, oh, sorry. So, because my wife and I do those escape room games and stuff like that. So that is
something I
definitely
could play with my son.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Maybe we'll try that.
Telling Lies is the name of that game.
You don't want to play chess with him anymore. That's for sure.
No, I don't. He laughs every time we mention that, and he ribs me because
It's got actors that you'll recognize. I recognize two of them. One is a girl that played a replica from Westworld. She was one of the prostitutes on that, and then the guy was on a show recently, Big Sky on TV right now. He's on that, so you'll recognize the actors, and I think it's really cool that it reminds me of those old CD games where you had full motion video. I
was just trying to remember the game Under a Killing Moon. I just
looked
it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I loved that game.
Then you're gonna like this. It's in a similar genre.
The only thing I don't like about it is that for the interface for the game, I would rather have a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, me too.
For
sure.
Okay.
Instead of a controller. Now I understand you can get this on Steam and you can play it as well, but it just lends itself really perfectly to a mouse and keyboard type thing. I've been talking a lot. So anybody else have anything they want to talk about? I got other stuff I can talk about, but
I think we come to your project after the break.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break real quick. And then after the break, I'll give you an update on my little arcade build. And we're back. So I promised a little update in my arcade build, and it's going to be very anticlimactic. I'm suffering right now of analysis paralysis. I've built the actual controller with the buttons. I've assembled all of that. I've confirmed that it works. My problem is mounting the actual brain, the Raspberry Pi inside the controller box, and making sure that I cut the holes right for the HDMI cable and the power cable and such like that. And I want to do it right the first time because I hate having multiple holes drilled into something. But I know that this is just a pilot. But I'm also a bit of a perfectionist, so I do a little bit. I mark things and then I walk away from it because I know that as soon as I cut that first hole, I'm going to be cursing like a sailor because I'll mess it up. So I'm trying to take my time. But testing the controller with games, I played a little Contra, I played a little Donkey Kong. So I confirmed that it is working. But I definitely got to get some more done on it. It's not quite ready, but I definitely want to get this in the mail.
Be the enemy of the good.
Oh,
ooh,
that should be a poster in your computer office.
Instead of that blank walls or criminal.
Game of Call of Duty. Why should it stop you?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So we had one of our old guys made a trip out west and got us a present.
We're all wearing these presents right now.
Yeah, we look
that could be interpreted.
Let me take
it. It's a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt.
I was in Seattle. I was in Redmond last week for work, and I figured I'd swing by the Microsoft campus store and see what they had for Xbox 20th anniversary stuff. Ken asked me to go check out, and I went and checked it out. And ironically enough, they didn't have a lot of 20th anniversary stuff, or maybe it had just all been sold out. They only had one shirt that had sort of a gold lame Master Chief, which really I don't think was our style. So we got these cool. Yeah, you would have
rocked it, yeah, especially with your gold lame shoes.
Jason's got gold lame shorts, so he could have worn it with it. But I thought this was a classy sort of with the Xbox logo and then the controller. I thought it was a cool sort of subtle way of saying who we are and what we do in a way that we could wear out and wouldn't look like, Uber fanboys. So
yeah. I appreciate you not putting our handles, our gamer tags on it, getting it printed up for us.
Yeah. No, I don't even know if I could do that. So I was looking to see what else they had. I tried to get their wireless headphones because Jason gives me a hard time about my headphones, but they didn't have any. So,
but we're very, very happy that these shirts.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, they're nice.
They're very
cool.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. They didn't have. They used to have the Warthog outside of the store, but they didn't have it there anymore. At least I didn't see it. So I don't know if they moved it or if they.
I mean, what a perfect time to have it with the new release of Halo Infinite, right?
You would think maybe they're using it for press.
Oh, yeah, because they got the show coming out, so they might be taking it around for that. That's a good point.
That's right. Speaking of Halo.
Yeah?
Did we talk about the Bungie thing last week? Or 2 weeks, whenever last talked last?
I don't think we really did.
Let's go ahead and talk about it.
So, I mean, I think it's... I didn't think... I wasn't sure. I think a lot of people know that... well, maybe you don't know. Bungie, the company that created Halo, was bought by Sony in a pseudo response to Sony buying Activision. But the reality is it's not. It's sort of laughable because Halo's owned by Microsoft. And so they get there's a great, by the way, if you guys don't watch Reckless Comedy and the PlayStation and Xbox characters, it's hilarious. And they were like, PlayStation's like, we got Halo. It's like, actually, you didn't.
No.
And so I think it's going to be, I think we're going to see more consolidation. There's been things like, is Sony going to buy Sega? And is there going to be, there's going to be, I think in the next 6 months, a ton of consolidation when it comes to gaming companies. And I guess my question is, I wonder if there's going to be any outside players that we're not expecting yet. My guess is we're going to see a ton of private equity money flow in real quick in order to try to make a quick buck and start aggregating some of these companies together to try to flip them at some point. So it's going to be interesting to see what the gaming communities are going to be like in the next 6 months. But I think the Microsoft buying Activision was sort of the crossing the Rubicon, and I think it's going to be an interesting thing where we see it goes.
Do you know that one of the first
Halo is safe? Sorry,
one of the first big games of Bungie Studios that made them famous? Little trivia.
Oni?
I was going to say Halo, but maybe not. Is it Earthborn Jim? Ooh.
Myth. You got it.
Killing Moon.
Myth.
Wow.
What was it?
Myth.
Not Mist.
Right.
Myth. Marathon and Myth were the two games. These guys started originally, and I'm just looking at their Wikipedia. They started originally in Chicago, and then they focused on Macintosh games. Marathon and Myth were two, because I was an early Apple guy, so I played some of those games. And then they moved to Bellevue, Washington.
Yeah,
which is that area is a hot video game.
It's funny.
It's a hot everything game.
Yeah. You read this and you realize how incestuous the game industry is. I mean, Microsoft acquired Bungie in 2000. Okay, that's where they made Halo Combat Evolved. And then in 2007, Bungie announced that they've split from Microsoft, become private. And then they teamed up with Activision.
That's crazy.
And they made Destiny. So and now Microsoft bought Activision. Years later. But it's funny to me to see Sony purchase Bungie. It's in knowing that Microsoft at one point owned Bungie. It's like dating your worst enemy's ex-girlfriend. It's like, why do you think that's going to hurt Microsoft?
I think Sony just wanted to do something.
Yeah,
I think
they needed to do something with one of those types of studios.
Bungie really hasn't done anything since the Destiny,
that's a massive game franchise, though. It's huge.
There's so many. There's a lot of players. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of players, but it's not nearly as popular as they thought it was going to be. I played the first one, and I initially liked it, but it was so repetitive.
Yeah. Repetitive, yes.
There was no diversity in the game whatsoever. It was way too repetitive. You did the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, agreed.
And now in the second iteration, maybe they changed that, maybe they improved it. I don't know. But by that time, I had already become burnt on it. I was like, I'm not going to play that game. I had such a bad experience with it. So it's interesting that Sony would do that.
Huh. The guy that this is what I love about Wikipedia. The guy that started Bungie, Alex Seropian, from University of Chicago. The first game that he created was a Pong clone called Nop. Pong spelled backwards.
Oh my gosh! Come on.
Created in 1990. So this was created in 1990, and then you said Microsoft bought them in 2000.
Right.
It's unbelievable. And then here's Sony scooping up Bungie for.
It's funny though that
massive
1990 amounts. For a game that's basically Pong. That's kind of late in the game. Don't you think?
But it was like retro. They were doing retro
Pong.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. See what that looks like.
Who? And I know we're getting long here, but who owns EA Sports? Who owns EA?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that.
Because you assume that would be one of the ones that'll be if someone wanted to snap up and get exclusive to some degree. And I don't know if exclusivity is going to be the case. I've seen there was a big announcement this week with Microsoft around, and there's some rulings around open app stores. I don't know if you guys saw that as part of and I know that they want to cross pollinate their PC app store, but I don't think Microsoft's going to be Xbox going to be a part of that. So that's one thing I want to look into as well.
Isn't it just its own company?
It is its own company.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. And if it is, is it the next big game to be hunted?
I would think so. And as my son calls it, EA tax. It's definitely a money draw. I mean, there's a lot of money spent in EA with microtransactions and stuff like that.
But I know Microsoft has the whole EA pseudo Game Pass thing, so maybe there is some sort of. To your point,
there is a bit of a relationship there.
Thing yeah, we have to look into it. But anyway, so that's the other one I can think of that has the scale of. I mean, Rockstar. What about Rockstar?
I think
that's owned by somebody else. That's not their own.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Rockstar Games.
So I don't mean to take us down a rabbit hole and while Jason's
Grand Theft Auto. I love that.
They're a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive.
Take-Two, that's right.
Take-Two owns a lot, actually. Pretty impressive company there, and it's a whole conversation.
They have 2K.
All right. I think that's long enough. What is it? What's the running time we got going? It's 30 minutes, but we could talk about a couple other things if you want. So one thing I want to do, we talked about several times wanting to play Mario Kart, and shy of buying a Nintendo. There is one game that I think that we should try. And we've mentioned it before, Rocket League. Okay.
Love Rocket League.
Rocket League has, and Jason and I played it recently. It was a lot of fun. But there is a mode called Rumble, and it allows you to have weapons on your car, and very similar to Mario Kart, where you're driving around and you throw a turtle shell and knocks people around, or have like Slick or something like that. This game has that while you're also trying to play giant soccer with your car. And it's a lot of fun. And you can play 2v2, so the four of us could play just us without having to worry about other people. So I think it would be fun for us to play against each other.
Just that phrase, while you're trying to play soccer with your car.
Uh-huh.
It's terrific. Speaking of which,
I will play it.
Speaking of which, Nintendo just announced for the Nintendo Switch the next iteration of Wii Sports. I think they're calling it Nintendo Sports.
Oh, dear.
It looks good.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited about it because we loved playing Wii Sports with on the Nintendo.
Does it have curling? Because if it doesn't have curling, I'm not.
It doesn't, but they said they are adding more games down the road.
Because I want curling, and I want to give my kids a broom and tell them it's curling, and then have them clean the house.
That's going to work.
Great
too.
idea.
That'll work for you. But no, I'm excited about that. That comes out at the end of April, so I will be buying that and playing it with the family, whether they like it or not.
And you'll kick the couch with your
playing soccer.
Yeah.
Or you'll throw a controller through a really expensive
TV
LG screen.
Yep. Yeah. Glass window, whatever.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I do not want to do that.
No.
Even though I almost did that when Call of Duty crashed for the 30th
No,
time.
I felt like we saved piece of electronics.
You did. That's true.
I felt like it was calling the hotline. We're like, Josh, you called. You know what? You reached out because you needed help, and we were here.
No, because I wanted to play.
Always.
It just so happened that you guys were there to talk me off the proverbial ledge.
Ken, it was. If he'd have done an Elvis if he had a chance, I'm just telling you.
Oh, that's hilarious!
Wow,
that is funny. Okay,
yeah, it was bad.
I don't have anything else, guys. Do you have any topics you want to talk about before we close up shop?
No, but
let's
would
go play
like
some
us
games.
to all show the shirt so that we can get a picture. I can do a screen
I
cap
have a
of this.
question.
Yes,
Well, I have a point. What gets done first, the Fiat or Ken's arcade table?
My arcade.
the arcade,
the table?
100%.
No, not the arcade table. The arcade controller
Fiat.
will get done.
Well, that's different. I mean, that's.
But I still
awesome.
think I will win.
I think there's a good chance you might. But, but I'm catching up. Things are getting done.
That's
looking
good.
good.
I'm glad you're.
What are we playing after this?
I am. I don't know about the rest
let's
of
do
you,
something.
but I am.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
So with that, I appreciate. Thanks for listening, and
Thanks for a listener.
and check us out on our website and let us know if there's anything else you want us to talk about. And thanks as always. I am Ken.
I'm Josh.
I'm Jason.
And that was wrong order, and I'm Stu.
That was wrong.
No, that was
like,
wrong.
is somebody gonna
So
go
who's
down
after
to-
K? Who's
Jason,
after
it's
K?
always the
J.A.
J.A.
No,
J.A. is before J.O.
No, who's after K?
Well, no,
what letter's
yes,
after K?
Hello, you're right.
Right.
Duh. We're
K
idiots.
goes then to
Let's just give up
Stu.
on that. Let's just give up on
And
that.
then it goes Jason, then Josh.
So is that the way we're going to do it? So that's what we're going to keep it in the order
Whoever
from
the
top to
host
bottom.
is.
That's new. When did we talk about this? Was there a text I missed from you,
We've
Ken?
heard
I
it.
told you it was
500
alphabetical right from the beginning. Right from the
Quite
beginning.
possibly.
But
I
yes.
figured
All
whoever
right, I
went,
heard that.
then it would go back to the
I
top.
heard that. All right,
You were
guys.
meant to
This
hear
is
it.
Old Guys Playing Games. I'm Ken.
I'm
Stu.
Jason.
Josh.
That wasn't me.
Bye.
Goodbye.